Years, Cracker Barrel has been serving up a slice of rustic country to suburbia.
Home-style cooking brings family together.
Between the rocking chairs, the old-timey gift shop, and those biscuits and gravy, Southern comfort has always been on the menu.
Here at Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, we keep our routine so you can get out of yours.
But a new change to that nostalgic routine is stirring the pot.
Store, look around. Wow, look how bright it is.
A select number of stores undergoing a redesign for a more modern feel.
We've got all new lighting, new seating, new tables and chairs.
This video is from a Tennessee location posted last August, just now going viral. While some are embracing the change,
the paint color is just so much lighter, and I think it's so much better.
Others argue the remodel chips away at that Southern charm.
But the inside remodel, Cracker Barrel for real, you're losing your feel.
While Cracker Barrel has said only about 30 of its 600 plus restaurants will get a full remodel, in a statement the chain says feedback from both guests and team members has been overwhelmingly positive, adding the strong performance of these locations affirms that we are moving in the right direction. In an interview last summer, Cracker Barrel's CEO telling CNBC the transformation is part of a multi-year brand refresh.
Our goal is to take what people love about Cracker Barrel and open the aperture a little bit so that more people love Cracker Barrel. So we want to appeal to all generations.
Cooking up a new look is all the rage. Denny's, Popeyes, Burger King, all getting modern makeovers. With sleek exteriors, brighter dining rooms, and high-tech features like these self-service kiosks in Burger King's newly remodeled Sizzle stores.
You don't want to eat somewhere where the carpet is from the 1980s. The look and feel of a restaurant, because the customers are spending money going there, is vital.
Across the country, restaurant chains have been struggling, with Hooters, TGI Fridays, and Red Lobster all filing for bankruptcy in the past year. A recent survey also found nearly 70% of consumers say they're eating at home more often.
We have all of our great decor here.
While Cracker Barrel has to refresh.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. Wait a minute, hold on. What did the black woman have to say? Get back. Hold on a second.
Loyal customers.
I love to go somewhere where the food is good, but the atmosphere has to be good too, because I don't want to eat somewhere boring.
As a woman who knows about
now, in a statement.
Hey guys, what's going on? Y2 Joe, you're not allowed to leave. Y2 Joe and Andy Opperman, they're starting the bonus content early. Good morning, Pineapples. Nice to see you guys. BB for Liberty says, I knew things were going to hell when the French fries were taken off the roof of McDonald's. Oh, yeah. I hated losing the play place, too. Because now it was like a free park that you could take your kid and they could get, Legionnaire's disease or Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus? Not going to work here no more. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. And if I keep screwing around, I'm not going to be working here no more. But thanks to the bonus content unlockers, you guys are just guaranteeing that I'm sticking around and staying in people's hair. Man, I annoy so many people. Not you guys. I'm sure you like me. Maybe sometimes, but I annoy so many people online. But they're all status authoritarians. It's like that line in Kindergarten Cop where she's like, you're a cop? He's like, yeah, did you ever kill anybody? Yeah, but they were all bad. Did you ever annoy anyone on the internet, Austin? Yeah, but they were all politicians. They got to be getting mad at me. L Dubs says, good morning. Barney Styles, we're all hanging out. Thormock, she, I believe, or he, loves this shirt. I love this shirt. Do you know why? Because you got to have big brass balls to wear a shirt like this in public. And if you do, honestly, even if you're like a little pudgy like me, a little bit old for wearing a shirt like this, people are like, if you wear it in the right setting, people are like, God damn, that is an awesome shirt. Oh, I wish I had a shirt like that. And maybe behind the scenes are actually like, oh God, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Austin needs to dress his age. Everybody's trying to get me to grow up, and I'm just like out here living my life like a pineapple. Good morning, pineapples. Good morning, pineapple. It's the Wake Up America show. I feel like Donald Trump every day. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. We do have a lot of important and serious things to talk about. We have serious interviews on the show all the time. I'm just wearing a shirt like this. And shirts like these, yes, they will get you compliments. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. We're part liberty, part laughter. We're entirely unfiltered, except for I don't say bad words. But if I do, then I try and warn the audience. Sometimes I do, we love Jesus, but we cuss a little. We talk about everything that matters. We do hit all the important subjects. We're going to talk about things like the agricultural industry. We're going to talk about pesticides in your food causing the freaking frogs to turn gay. SeaWorld Girl's here, and she is a mobile infantry captain in the Freedom Ninja Army over on Discord, because the For Liberty Network is live on Discord. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. If this country gets any more corporatized, the next time you pledge allegiance, it's going to be to a trademarked logo designed by me and Brad using AI and Adobe Express. But because we're not in power, we're the slaves of the left, it will have to be approved by a non-binary HR intern, and we have to send in our design to them multiple times. We work in the mines. The digital mines. All right, let's hit it. Cracker Barrel commits cultural euthanasia. America's last front porch has officially been bulldozed to make room for sterile, sanitized, gender-neutral comfort POD. The old man with the barrel is gone. The antiques are gone. The soul has been deleted, kind of like your grandma's or your crazy uncle's Facebook comments. I really like this meme here that shows the old logo and the new logo. Let's see if I can pull it up for you. Here they are. The old Cracker Barrel, Miley Cyrus, Party in the USA era. The new Cracker Barrel, the Ozempic era. That's quite frightening. This is why it's good to watch the live video show. Although we do love our audio podcast listeners later, when I'm not too lazy to upload it. That is a pretty good example. This is the CEO saying people love their rebrand.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Julie Messino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you again.
Answering those questions for all the Cracker Barrel fans out there.
Is there a factory where they're making these Rachel Maddow lookalikes? What is it? You go to a 4-year university, you get a master's degree, and you look like that? Steffi has a master's degree, and she's friggin' hot. But she's a libertarian. There's something about the ugliness inside from the liberals that it manifests itself, even if they could be the most elite CEO, and they've got the pantsuit on, they've got the smart glasses, they've got the hair done exactly as it's supposed to be done. Their teeth are magnificent, probably all veneers. And you can still see it like lurching out, like one of those, like if I had some music right now, I'd be like, oh, like, what's the, oh, Fortuna, right? Like the fires of hell, the demons inside of them struggling to get out. You can't avoid it. What kind of show is this? Cracker Barrel CEO looks like the type of person who will ruin a company. I'm in a silly mood this morning. It's nice to see Mind Art. What's up, SeaWorld Girl? The factory is the government school to college pipeline. Some lucky ones escape quality control, but not too many, sadly. Oh, I broke out of there a long time ago, baby. Look at me. Beautiful man. So we're going to talk about the Cracker Barrel logo if we have time. God, we're already like rushing ahead. The DEI adjacent marketing push that they're on, and why every single chain restaurant is now trying to look like a tech startup that sells toast. And we actually have serious questions. I have serious questions to ask you about the future of American biscuits. Okay. Say what it is. Say less. Joining me is at 7:30 this morning. We got 3 guests. God, I'm working my butt off. Joining me is former North Dakota State Rep Brandon Prichard, who says many of what you guys are thinking. If we can't get the waste cutting done in North Dakota, what is the point of electing Republicans at all? We're going to name names. We're going to expose the rhinos who are choking the reform movement under Doge. And we're going to talk about why primary season should be open season. I'm going rhino hunting. Time to stop playing nice, start swinging the fiscal chainsaw. Viva la libertad, carajo. You guys been following the Hans Hermann Hoppe versus Javier Milei beef. Apparently Hans Hermann Hoppe, if you don't know him, don't feel stupid. You don't need to know him. Nobody's going to remember him 30 years. In 30 years, they're going to be teaching Javier Milei in Western civilization classes. A libertarian who mattered, not a bitch who whines because, he didn't ostensibly, all of the critics of Javier Milei, I'm on to them. Because the haters, it was like this Saifedean character yesterday, this economist that I know here in the United States, his name's Bob Murphy. He was posting these critiques of Javier Milei from this Saifedean, Allahu Akbar, Saifedean turd. And I went to go check out and see, what's sort of the criticisms? Like, what is it? Because Bob Murphy, I respect him as an economist, so he's posting these criticisms. He says he hasn't fully read the criticisms, but he says, if this is true, then it's really bad for Milei. And then a whole bunch of people who are the usual suspects are doing the whole, if this is true, then it's really bad for Milei. I'm like, well, why don't you fucking homos actually read it, you stupid pelotudos, as they say in Argentina. You stupid pelotudos. Ay, papi, I'm learning some Espanol in this reform movement in Argentina as I'm chronicling its rise and, having a ball doing it. But no, the Javier Milei haters, the pelotudos, the Hans Hermann Hoppes of the world, right? He resigns from this institute in Germany because they're going to give Javier Milei award. I mean, like a gay boy, the dumbest, the most beta shit ever. I'm going to resign from the... Only in German accent. I'm going to resign from support. If you give Javier Milei an award, I can't take it. You can't do that. Shut up, gay boy. Hans Hermann Hobag. An intellectual who wrote Democracy, the God That Failed. We should all accept a monarchy because the government is doing such a fantastic job at running things. Oh, we should give it to one person. They'll definitely run it better. Elitist bullshit. But no, I'm on to Javier Milei's haters. I'm on to why they really hate. They don't hate him. They'll cite these things like Saifedean. Oh, well, he didn't switch this monetary rate. He didn't get rid of the peso immediately, which of course would have had him driven from office like another politician in Argentina who tried to do something like that and then had to flee in a helicopter. Like, what's his name? What was the Romanian dictator? Nicholas Ceausescu had to flee in a helicopter, except this Argentinian politician actually got out alive. Ceausescu, well, sic semper tyrannis to communists, of course, for those who know their history. But the critics of Javier Milei, it always comes back to one thing, the big noses. It always comes back to the tiny hats. Because always is eventually somebody finally says it. He likes the Jews. No, he might be a Jew. Well, that's what. And what do you think, Saifedean, Durka, Muhammad Jihad, Islamo gay boy? And what do you think that his beef is? So I go to check Saifedean's criticisms, and of course, I'm blocked by Saifedean because he is a weak little bundle of sticks, isn't he? And of course, I check his page, and it's all Zion, Nazi, Gaza, Israel, Palestine. It's like, you're obsessed and you're homos. Get out of my country. It's America, bitch. America is not built by slaves. It was built by Jews. Well, if they control everything, America's pretty amazing. They must have done a pretty damn good job. Have we chased off all the Nazis yet? Good. What's up, Dad Bod? It's always the Jews. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who notices it. I saw that Officer Brandon Tatum was saying things like that. He's finally come out and said, yo, there's a bunch of Nazis here. Just get them the fuck out. I love black men and black women with clarity. You know, when you watch a video, like that black woman earlier talking about the rebrand of Cracker Barrel, she's like, I just don't like the food's okay, it's good, but I gotta like sitting there and I'm spending my hard-earned money. I want to be somewhere that's fun. Listen to this black man.
Saw something on the internet. Dude said he ate in a remodeled Cracker Barrel and he hated it. And I want to join in on the hate. If the Cracker Barrel don't look like the Jim Crow South, I can't eat there. You got to have the racism aesthetic. You got to have the rocking chairs and the hint of segregation in the air. If I don't feel like I'm on the set of Sinners, then how do I know I'm in a Cracker Barrel? This is a gentrified Cracker Barrel. They done took all the character out of it, and I know the edges of the pancake ain't burnt. I got to feel like somebody wants to say, "Good morning, boy," when I go in, with respect. And no respect at all. I feel like they want me to work there, but they don't want to pay me ever. And I've got to live there. That's Cracker Barrel's thing. You take that away, what is it? A Denny's, IHOP? A place I don't want to be at.
I feel like they're going to make me work there. Stay there. Live there. Hey, guys, are we having fun? Dread Seamus. Slow news day if we're talking about Cracker Barrel. Actually not. There's a lot of news today. We've got, and I just haven't talked about it because I've been going off on some economists that nobody cares about and doesn't matter. We're going to speak to Brandon Prichard this morning about Doge across the states. And then at 8 o'clock this morning, everybody's favorite Camellia Peterson is going to join us to talk about RFK Jr. He's kind of done an about face. I get a lot of these kind of MAHA people, not all MAHA people. There's some great MAHA people. I would love to be a MAHA person, but I know they wouldn't have me because their signature move is always to ban things that they don't understand. And when it comes to things like chemicals, and it comes to chemicals in our water that are turning the frickin' frogs gay, whether it's the radioactive shrimp from Walmart or whether it's a dose of thalidomide in a vaccine, people have a problem understanding what what dosage means and what it does and how it changes outcomes. If you drink a small amount of cyanide, for example, if you drink a large amount of water, why can you drink different amounts of things? Well, it's because there's certain chemicals and certain things. Certain levels of radioactive material might actually be okay. You can actually have a little bit of that. It's all right. It's not going to kill you as long as you have it in a small enough dose. But in Missouri here, the grassroots, which is fearful and always desperate for us, they are like the Israelites of the Bible. Here they are in Missouri as they are across the rest of the country, I can imagine too, a fearful people, a people who are terrified of liberty and who hear scary things about chemicals with scary sounding names on the internet. And they think that it means that, soon the mark of the beast will be placed on us before we would be able to buy at the grocery store. So glyphosate. And RFK Jr. takes advantage of their willingness to believe. He's the medicine man who wanted to ban pesticides until he ran into Missouri's real power, which is not the crazy crazies of the grassroots. It's the cattle lobby and it's the farmers. Well, not the cattle, but not the cattlemen's. Cattlemen's are number one. The Beef Cattlemen's Association, they are the ones who decide who gets elected in Missouri. But after that is going to be, your soy farmers. The Soy Institute has a really big building down the road from me, and it's scary looking. Don't mess with this. I thought that soy was supposed to be making men weak, but the people who work down at the soy lobby here in Jefferson City, they look like they would, pull. Do you ever see how Kim Jong-un assassinated one of his brothers in the airport with the two chicks in the needles? Don't mess with soybeans in Missouri. That's all I'm saying. So the soybean farmers, they want to use glyphosate. I used a little bit around my house. I know I'm going to get angry messages from people who are crazy people on the show. And I love my crazy people. I'm crazy about a lot of stuff. I just happen to think that being able to stop, pests from eating our delicious foods is a good thing. And I like pesticides. There are natural pesticides, sure, but would we be able to commit to agriculture at a massive scale? No. Are there such a thing as trade-offs in this world? Yes. Was Norman Borlaug the man who saved nearly 1 billion lives through genetically modified engineering of crops like rice? He saved 1 billion lives. Norman Borlaug. Look him up. Amazing. Monsanto guy. I knew I was crossways with my own movement about 5 to 6 to 7 years in when I was reading all this stuff, and I was like, oh, wow, Norman Borlaug, that's really cool. Whoa, he took rice and grain and he made it so that more people could eat, so fewer people starved. And then at the time, it was the Democrats who were still, back when RFK Jr. was a Democrat, it was the Democrats who were for banning everything. They were the crunchy granolas. They were the hippies. And now, not only we have to fight the hippies on the left when it comes, we got to fight them on the right and pretend like they're actually conservatives or they know a damn thing about running a country. You know who knows a damn thing about how to run a country? Javier Milei. He's pretty much it. Libertad Avanza seems to understand. Entropy Nomad. Radium, the natural decay of atomic structures over time. Zed Head says, I still use 7 Dust and wash everything in baking soda water. Wow. You're a badass. Boss man. But RFK Jr., he ran into the soy boys, but not the weak soy boys, the strong soy boys. He ran into the farm lobby when it came to the glyphosate push. And there's even a local tie to this story because the newly appointed Attorney General of the state of Missouri, a woman by the name of Catherine Hanaway, was involved in lawsuits against Bayer, who have headquarters here in Missouri. And she was defending Bayer because they want to manufacture glyphosate because we're tired of dealing with the higher the weeds are, the more there are. Listen, the closer that the Lone Star tick gets to making me or a vegan or a vegetarian, the more hostile I get towards the people who want to ban glyphosate. I hung out this summer with a gal with Alpha Gal, and let me tell you, this was not a happy gal. This was a very sad gal. It's a trade-off. Long-term exposure to glyphosate may cause cancer. Long-term exposure to the Lone Star tick means no delicious beef dinners, and I'm sorry, MAHA. Even you should know, MAHA. Even you should know that beef dinners are what keeps us going. Are we unlocking the bonus content today, guys? Is it going to happen? I don't know. We've gotten a decent step of the way. We've raised $22 towards the $75 goal. We've got a mini documentary for you guys to unlock. And let me tell you that today's bonus content at the $100 level is going to be fantastic, okay? It is. We have got a certified medium here who is going to raise Hulk Hogan from the dead because his daughter... His ghost does not rest because his daughter has insinuated that Hulk Hogan may have been murdered. No, yes. God. No, God, please, no, no. So, if you want to hear from the ghost of Hulk Hogan, raise him from the dead this morning, he will join us if by the end of the show we raise $100 in bonus content money. It can be given in the form of Rumble Rants. It can also be given by shopping at our shop, the Grift Shop, at thegriftshop.com. Some people go to the gift shop. We send you to the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com where people drink delicious Founding Flavors coffee. I love Thomas's Painkiller. Jeffersonian Java is the #1 selling product on our shop. Ask anybody in the comments. They will tell you no lies. They love Founding Flavors. We've got dozens and dozens of 5-star reviews, 4-star reviews, and everything in between. It's top quality, ultra premium. We got so much stinking exciting things going on behind the
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to...
Here at Alligator Alcatraz, the fence keeps them in. But slip up, and you're on my plate.
Looks like breakfast is making a run for it. We got 3 hot meals trying to check out early from Alligator Alcatraz.
They can splash, they can sprint, but there's no escaping Alligator Alcatraz. Caught 2.
The third?
Huh. The swamp's got its own way of catching runaways.
Mama was wrong. Gators don't need toothbrushes. Just an honest job making America great again.
I think the Democrats are hemorrhaging voters because they've chosen all the wrong constituencies. They seem to care more about illegal aliens than American citizens, violent criminals than law-abiding citizens, and the Palestinian flag more than the American flag.
That is not true, and that is
when you take those positions on things like that, people tend to run to the other party. And
is there one mainstream Democrat?
I think the Democrats are hemorrhaging.
All right, Patriots. Welcome to Wake Up America show. We all got to sneak our Scott Jennings in for the day. Thank you so much for joining us here live on the Wake Up America show. Let's talk about betrayal, et tu brute, not from the left, but from inside the house. You know, we spent years building a movement. I've been in this since 2008, trying to expose waste, trying to slash bureaucracy in this country, return power and money to taxpayers. The Doge revolution, the Department of Government Efficiency, kind of started as a meme, then it became a mandate. The idea was supposed to be to use blunt force accountability to root out the rot in government spending. Trump backed it, voters backed it, and red state Republicans ran for office specifically on it. But here's the question. If red states can't actually deliver Doge's promises, what can they deliver? In North Dakota, one of the reddest states in the nation, Republicans put together a government efficiency task force, and then they tasked it with basically Lindsey Graham's and John McCain's types and Mitt Romney types. They stacked it with spendaholics. They were supposed to audit the state's $20 billion budget. They were supposed to cut duplication, eliminate bloat, yada, yada, yada. We're all tired the next morning. To break this all down and to name names, we're going to be joined by somebody who's been in the trenches, a former North Dakota state rep, founder of Citizens Alliance, one of the only people willing to call out his own party when they sell out their voters. A rare man indeed, a brave man, Brandon Prichard. Good morning, Brandon.
Hey, Austin. Happy to be on your show. Thank you so much. Excited to be on.
It's the inside of it. You don't get betrayed by your enemies. You get betrayed by your friends. Isn't that the case, Brandon?
It is. I like the Brutus the reference there. That's exactly right. It's frustrating in North Dakota. We have 141 people in the legislature. Only 16 of them are Democrats. So overwhelmingly Republican. We still can't cut spending or really do anything that you would view as conservative, liberty-minded, whatever it is.
It's North Dakota. I mean, what do you need the money for? You guys just kind of like hang out in the great outdoors. You live in tents up there. Yeah. You're always constant. You're like cowboys with what the heck does the government need to spend money for in North Dakota?
Austin, there's a saying that whenever you get money, you got to spend it. That's the mindset that these Republicans have, that we have so much, especially oil money, energy related, dividends and things. It's just so easy to spend that on stuff, especially when it's there. But we don't keep any of it for my children, generations down the line. It's always spend right now. Very frustrating.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And so that's what Citizens Alliance is all about. You wrote in a piece over at The Blaze, if red states can't deliver the Doge promise, what can they deliver? So let's just go right there. So basic fiscal responsibility cannot be practiced, not even by red states, the reddest of red states. I mean, it feels a little, I don't know, black-pilled, to use the word the kids say these days. How are you feeling about it?
Look, it is what it is, right? No, but I think that you first have to identify a problem before you can fix it. And the problem in our state, and it's not just North Dakota, this is what I wrote about in the piece at The Blaze, is that it is a common theme that the worst type of Republicans, and sometimes not even Republicans, are being appointed to these Doge committees. In North Dakota, the most liberal member, a Democrat, member of the North Dakota Senate, Kathy Hogan, the minority leader, was appointed to Doge. There's only a handful of people on this committee, and they appointed the most liberal member of the Senate. And then you ask, well, who was the senator from the Republican side? The senator from the Republican side, a guy by the name of Senator Kyle Davison, he is, objectively speaking, one of the most fiscally liberal members of the Senate Republican caucus. You go over to the House. They appoint the Speaker of the House and the Assistant Majority Leader, both of whom I don't think voted against a single budget bill in our most recent legislative session in 2025. This isn't just happening in North Dakota. It's happening around the country. It's a psyop. It's fake. I don't even know if AstroTurf can be applied to this. It is ridiculous that the management committee in our state and states around the country, there's, I think, 27 states that Doge has been ratified in or something like that. They're just all they're just not real. And it's so frustrating because, Austin, this is one of those things that you mentioned, overwhelming support, a mandate. I mean, this is one of those rare things that connects almost every faction of the Republican Party, whether it's, the Christian folks, the liberty folks, the fiscal hawks, even some of the neocons are even supportive of this, at least in tongue service. But we can't get it done because we can't get good people on these committees.
It's very sad because we're so used to hearing from the left a message of spend. And it's like the Republicans have they always campaign like libertarians and they govern like Democrats. It's so sad. But you've been a state rep. You've seen how the sausage is made, Brandon. You've been on the inside when these bills are being written. What is it truly? What are the mechanisms that are standing in the way of this? Is it just flawed people, or is something broken with the system?
Well, broken with our system in our state, and I don't know the laws in other states that might preempt this, but one of the big problems in terms of appropriations around the country in state legislatures is that you can kill a bill. You can get a majority of the folks in a chamber to kill a bill. but it comes back, it comes back, it comes back in so many different forms. And finally, at the last day of session, they'll throw it in the final bill, and they'll get it anyway. And in our state, there should be, and when I say should be, there actually is a provision that says that it has to be in the original language of the bill. It has to be germane. You can't just kind of what you would call a Christmas tree version where you add it in. And there are occasions in our state where it is overturned. But all the legislators have to do, and they're smart with this, is connect a funding item to another bill on the last day of session if they really want to get it through. There's games to get around it. I think that if you really want to doge a state, you have to look into changing the provisions on how you amend bills on the last few days of session. That is where the bloat comes in. Typically, you cut a big portion of it, and then all of a sudden, to get out of session, people just throw it in at the last second. And I think that would be more effective than some of these doges in a lot of these states, too.
We're speaking of Brandon Prichard. He is a member of the Citizens Alliance of North Dakota, talking to us about how Doge can't, the state level Doge attempts aren't able to accomplish their goals on the state level. We were struggling on the federal level. Everybody's paying attention to what's going on with Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all of the drama with their e-girls and who's pregnant has the 14th baby drama. But meanwhile, we're looking at the issues of the numbers, and it's almost as if the media and even many on the right love the culture war stuff because nobody wants to have to do the math or nobody wants to do the numbers. So right. The number of fiscal hawks, you mentioned fiscal hawks earlier, Brandon, the number of people who are not only in favor of financially literate, but just being financially literate, but are capable of being financially literate. The way I put this in the bigger picture is that the right has spent the last 20 years and for the last 5 to 7 years furiously promoting the ideals of people like Thomas Sowell online, people like Frederick Bastiat online, the ideals of the economic right. They'll post a Thomas Sowell quote, get 1 million views on that site. Oh, he's a god. Here's why we need tariffs and increase taxes. There is a Bastiat account whose sole purpose is to promote tariffs.
That's awesome.
What's going on? What is happening?
You're pointing out a weird period that we're in, where there's a lot of contradictions and a lot of uncertainty. The one thing that I'll say, Austin, is that for a long time, the liberty conservative movement didn't have a clear, identifiable leader. And now we do, and that's Donald Trump. And it's very clear that he does not share the views of kind of the philosopher types of old. And so I think that a lot of these folks are trying to reconcile that, or maybe they don't even try and reconcile it, and they just kind of blaze over it. And it kind of leads to this weird contradiction. It's going to have to come to a conclusion. We're going to have to figure out where we're at, but I can imagine that if
you took the ideas of Thomas Sowell, if you took Thomas Sowell's ideas and you said, and you didn't put his name on it, right? You literally just posted a Thomas Sowell quote without Thomas Sowell's name at the end of it, the Republicans would boo it. They would be very angry. I remember Justin Amash did that once, Congressman Amash. He actually was, I think he was at a Libertarian Party meeting, and he was like fighting with the Mises people or something, and he read quotes from Ludwig von Mises to the Mises people, and they were all like, yeah, this is woke, and it's just kind of like, no, bro, that's Mises. It's a problem amongst the wonky, nerdy libertarian types too, isn't it, Brandon?
Yeah. No, it is. I think that people need to be more learned in the reasons why we're a liberty people or why we're conservatives or whatever. You have to dig into those things and understand. And by the way, so important. I think the most basic one is be fiscally responsible.
Know your shit before you open your yap. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
That, Brandon? How about that?
Sums it up.
This is why I lose friends. But like when people are stupid morons and they say, well, I haven't read this yet, but here's my 10-minute long opinion. You expect me to listen to your opinion about something that you're talking about? You have no GD idea what the hell you're talking about? Okay, well, you got a nice can and you're posting on Instagram. I guess you're a conservative leader.
Well, I think they say that there's going to be more political content written this year than has ever been written before when you add it all up in history. Because it's just with AI, with all of this, it's just so much. And everybody has something to say, but nobody has any logic behind it, Austin. It's frustrating.
It is frustrating. So what is Citizens Alliance doing about it?
Well, absolutely. We're getting good people elected in North Dakota. We're identifying who the main targets are in the state legislature, who are either Democrats or what we would consider establishment, rhino, big spending Republicans. And we're trying to take their seats. One of the folks that we're going after right now, a guy by the name of Representative Jason Doctor, has been convicted of stealing taxpayer money. I mean, I'm not even like making this up. This isn't a personal attack. This is on public record. He stole taxpayer money. And there's a chance he runs for re-election in 2026. So we are going out, we're spreading the message that he was convicted and sentenced for stealing taxpayer money in a scam. And we're going to try and get better people elected. Additionally, there's a senator, 88 years old. I don't know if you think that somebody that's 88 years old at the end of the next term would be able to serve in the legislature. She's going to run again, potentially. We're going after these folks. We're trying to bring accountability to North Dakota. Citizens Alliance of North Dakota. Our website is CAND.WIN. Feel free to donate, sign up, volunteer, whatever you need to do. We'd love to have you.
Brandon, it's an early show here, the Wake Up America show, and you were on the earliest guest time slot. Thank you, and sorry.
Well, it's okay, man. I'm a law student. I got to get up and I'm reading my statutes. You'd love to know it.
Well, now you get to go out there and you need to cut all the awesome clips from all of the the epic wins that you had this morning before. You were notching wins before a lot of people in the United States are even awake. So thank you very much for your time, and you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you, Austin.
Bye.
I got to ask this question. I think I probably know the answer. What if all the customers are coming at you hard enough about the look of the restaurant and they want to go back to the old way? Would you do it?
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers.
You know that you're a CEO when you say something on the media like, let me give you another soundbite. Like, they're the industry term for, let me give you a soundbite. This is the CEO of Cracker Barrel, Julie Fels Mazzino.
We bring them together.
That is such a bougie name.
Every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Massino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Boards of directors have to find CEOs that have that kind of smile where they lying through their teeth. It's not an easy thing to find. You're watching the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. This is a fantastic show. We've got tons of amazing content. We're going to pack into the next hour and 20 minutes, not even that much. We have got Camellia Peterson joining us at 8 a.m. to talk about the MAHA About Face, the Make America Healthy Again movement. It was all about banning glyphosate, not getting kids to do push-ups, but banning scary-sounding chemicals. No. When you asked them specific questions about glyphosate, you got answers like, "You're just a baby." Aww. Well, you're just a baby. Is that okay if I treat you like such when talking about such things? Derek, I'm an elitist son of a bitch. Well, what do you expect? God didn't make me stupid. Dredge Seamus says the gravy there tastes like chalk now. God gave me these powers. I will use them for good. Quest Fanning says waspy. Yeah, she is rather waspy, the CEO. Would you guys like to see the ghost of Hulk Hogan resurrected on this show today? We are going to have a seance. And like many sketchy mediums, for the low price of $100, we will tell your future. No, Hulk Hogan's future. The ghost of Hulk Hogan awaits in the wings today, ready to speak with you from beyond the grave. His daughter, Brooke Hogan, is insinuating a conspiracy that Hulk Hogan did not die of natural causes, allegedly. Well, we have on standby the ghost of Hulk Hogan today, waiting to deliver a message from beyond the grave. He will comment on his daughter's comments live on the show this morning. The ghost of Hulk Hogan. Would you like to see the ghost of Hulk Hogan? Would you like to? Okay, I'll tell you how you can do it, okay? In a few minutes, because we haven't unlocked the first phase of the bonus content, we're going to go to commercials. Don't be mad. And please don't leave. Camellia is amazing. She'll be here at 8 a.m. Central, 10 minutes from now. But if we raise $75, that will unlock the bonus mini documentary. So you can watch the mini documentary instead of commercials. Way more fun. Highly recommend. But if we raise $100 today in Rumble Rants on the show, or if we hit that goal through purchases at the Grift Shop, then you guys are going to see the ghost of Hulk Hogan revived on our show today, talking about the apparently, allegedly untimely death that he had. And remember, they cremated his body nearly immediately after his presumed death. Maybe it's not the ghost of Hulk Hogan. That would be quite awkward if he actually walked in and turned out to be alive. But no, we have it on good authority that the reanimated ghost of Hulk Hogan will make an appearance on this show. Is he in heaven or is he in hell? There's only one way to find out, and that is to visit the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. If you go to thegriftshop.com, buy a box of our delicious Founding Flavors coffee and shop around for a little bit more, and you guys will be glad that you did. The old Cracker Barrel, Miley Cyrus. The new Cracker Barrel, Miley Cyrus. Yes. So this is Party in the USA. This is Demonic Possession. Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise, Eyes Wide Shut. Cracker Barrel. Miley Cyrus. Austin, why do you have the show notes from yesterday? Close it. Close it. You clown. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. You have the time and temperature up here? No, 72 degrees Fahrenheit in Jefferson City, Missouri. A beautiful morning here in Jefferson City. Arvolt 24, JJ 4884, Dread Seamus, Entropy Nomad. Dread, thanks so much for becoming a monthly sub. That means you can watch the Friday night show, the Freedom Arcade. JJ 4884 says, I don't think I want virtual necromancy. I don't knock until you tried it. And Derek Molly, you're all hanging out in the chat. It's nice to see everybody. Over 100 people watching us live this morning. Click the like button if you haven't already. And please do send us a text at 573-319-1586. Text lines are always open. See it down down on the corner. 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Listeners are texting in and saying things like, Austin, I'm not sure if you're experiencing technical difficulties, but so far this month, I only have 6 episodes of Wake Up America in my podcast feed. They're listening to the audio version later. I have been very lax about that in order to get out the Grover the Note President children's book this month, working on the documentary editing and upgrading the Wake Up America show content itself. It is my job to upload that podcast, and you know what? It is my bad. So sorry, I suck at that. If you're hearing this, but maybe you won't hear it because I don't know if I'm going to have time to upload today. I need help. Thankfully, we have more help coming on the way. We're adding a new member to the For Liberty Networks team. We are growing. Why are we growing? Because people like you do things like drop Rumble Rants, and you help support the show. Even when I make mistakes or I forget to upload the audio podcast, please forgive me. I see you guys hanging out over in the Discord chat. We're growing like crazy over there. That's been really exciting. Culturama, Liberty Tonight, Freedom Arcade, and the Wake Up America show. That's 4 shows on the For Liberty Network. And I think it's because we have a real sense of community, a very healthy, kind of almost family style feel in the chat, as sort of like what Cracker Barrel wishes it was. They need to approach the Wake Up America show group. What do you say, guys? Do you think if Cracker Barrel was in the For Liberty Network Discord, they'd be able to move forward with the branding? We do some kind of AI schlock, like they wouldn't be able to do the cracker's hands exactly, but that cracker there would be a cracker on the barrel. What if you had an actual barrel and then you could see the crackers in it and then the cracker was in it and he looks like some kind of Aunt Jemima figure and he's like, get back, N-word. N-word's not allowed. Oh, it's all in good fun. Some people can't take a joke, though.
We were having a discussion on the show about Trump's attempts to influence parts of American culture, like the Smithsonian, like the Kennedy Center, and the arts, when suddenly the conversation turned to slavery and race. And Jillian argued that everything in the culture has become now about race.
He's not whitewashing slavery. So he's not? He's not. No, okay. He's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does.
Then what really shocked all of us at the table was that she seemed to try to be minimizing the impact of racism and slavery on American history.
Well, if it's outsized of its actual impact, then you're trying to make it out to be something bigger than it was. Remember, America was a British colony, and then I think slavery in the United States existed for, was it even? I don't think slavery in the United States as America existed for, what was it, 86 years? How long did slavery actually exist when America was actually a constituted nation of itself? Who brought the slaves? Was it citizens of the United States? It was a different country. It was a colony at the time. 1776 wasn't even really the actual starting of the United States. The Constitution was written later to actually formally incorporate all of the United States. We were under the Articles of Confederation for a while, right? So you're blowing it up to be bigger than it actually is. It doesn't need to be the entire Smithsonian Museum. You're forgetting there was a lot going on in the United States, other than just cotton picking and then when the cotton gin came along, who needed slavery? Does anybody remember American history? Did anybody pay attention? Anybody?
Less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves.
Yeah.
It was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that
Is that a minimization? It's pretty small.
slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
Do you know
the slave
who
owners.
in America was the first race to try to end slavery?
That's an incredibly misleading statistic, because even the Americans who did not own slaves also participated in slavery by benefiting from the economic system of slavery, the political system of slavery, and culturally treating black people as if they were not human. But Jillian didn't acknowledge any of those things, and that, I think, is really what
she did. She said white people are the ones who ended slavery. Oh my God. We're really struggling this morning. Who went to the grift shop this morning? Who went and bought themselves a Gulf of America mug? You guys. You little cuties. I see you out there. I'm going to do the math on how much we've raised so far, but I think it's like $50 so far. So we're really close to the bonus content, guys. Thank you so much. She's culturally appropriating vocal fry. Was that Derek Mollier? Dude, you need to be writing my show for me, man, so I don't have to stay up so late. That's my next hire for the For Liberty Network. It's going to find somebody to write my show for me so I don't have to stay up till 9 or 10 o'clock at night every night before I get up at 5 a.m. Mighty Megatron, Drew Van Runkle, Jimmy Joe Patty, especially Jimmy Joe Patty, and Hammerlager. You guys are the ones making the For Liberty Network happen. Do you like the show? Are you enjoying what we've done so far? Or could be better? You can send in your thoughts. Just make sure that they include dollar bills attached to them. No, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me and Stephanie's passion project of love to bring the ideas of liberty to the American people. Tomorrow is Freedom Family Friday, so Stephanie's going to be on the show. And guess what? We're going to do a book reading of Grover the Note President. Tomorrow will be a great day to have your kids show up on a Friday morning. I know they're back in school, but in case they're young enough to be able to join us or hang out with us, we will do a book reading of Grover the Note President tomorrow morning. We hope that you will check that out as well over at the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. I got 1 minute left until Camellia's here. Jesus, this went by so fast. Austin, push all the buttons.
Patriot. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have Drag Queen Story Hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop forlibertyshop.com.
All right, welcome back to Wake Up America, where we don't just follow the headlines, we also follow the contradictions. Life is full of contradictions. Today's contradiction comes from the courtesy of the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He was on the Make America Healthy crusade. I was for fat camps. That's what I thought would be the way to go. Take the children, put them on a track, and just make them run as fast as they can. Or I really like the idea of the escape house, where you have to be a human-sized person to be able to exit. So there's all this exercise equipment and healthy food in this giant room, and you have to exercise and eat right, and then until you become the size of a human, and then you can leave because you're human-sized. Or, you know, what they could do is they could take the airline seats, and if you have to have 2 airline seats, you can't leave. So that's it. We're going to talk about why RFK Jr. has taken a big about face on what MAHA is really facing, which is glyphosate. It's the chemicals. I die under a chemical sky. IG Farben is IBM. Did you know that they sold Zyklon B to the Nazis? My next guest just learned that fact right now. Camellia Peterson. Am I serious? Yes, I am. Chemicals, man. First they use them on the Jews, then they put it in our skin, and it's turning the freaking frogs gay, aren't they, Camellia?
Yeah.
Are you there? You're breaking up.
Can you not hear me okay?
Now I can. You're leaning.
Okay.
Maybe, it might be that your laptop mic is the one that's connected instead of the one that's on your ear. And so if you don't lean in close, then it takes a second. It's trying to delete the sound that's around you. It's kind of a little technical thing, but I've heard it before. If you're breaking up, sometimes it's not about the internet speed. It's really just about.
Okay.
There you go. Yes. So,
yes. All right.
So glyphosate, it's not just a national problem. We're talking about it here in Missouri a lot. It's all over billboards.
Oh my gosh.
And our new attorney general is in on it because she represented Bayer in lawsuits.
Yes. So, I mean, hot topic in Missouri, I mean, for a while now, but especially this year during the legislative session, like it was a big deal. Freedom Caucus was going hard on it. You know, grassroots was all up in arms. And the irony is that when the legislation went through for having to do with glyphosate in Missouri, there were people that you and I know as very liberty-minded, very conservative people on both sides of the argument. And when you looked at the bill itself, it really came down to labeling. And if you and the interesting thing too about this was that there were a lot of very conservative attorneys who were on both sides of this. So smart legal people. And like, to look at the bill, it was literally just tort reform. Like, it prevented, you know, frivolous lawsuits, because basically that's been the strategy, you know, with glyphosate and Bayer, right? Is that you just dogpile lawsuit after lawsuit. Like, I can't even remember how many lawsuits they've had filed, because every time somebody has cancer, they decide that glyphosate is the culprit. And so you can just file a lawsuit for that. So then you can literally bury a company and drive them out of business just in having to either, you know, settle or defend themselves in lawsuits. So yes, the Missouri's newly appointed Attorney General, former First Lady Speaker of the House in Missouri, Catherine Hanaway, was representing Bayer in some way with those lawsuits.
Yeah, to me, it's really a question of trade-offs with freedom, because you have to ask you, first of all, there's so many things that give you cancer. There's so many things that we accept as part of our daily life in order for us to have certain technological conveniences, right? And we appreciate things like trade-offs, but you know, obviously people shouldn't be able to drop pure cyanide into the water supply and try and poison people directly. But the problem is that RFK Jr. has a history of making wild claims about the relative dangers of foods or dyes or drugs. Meanwhile, he's juicing on steroids to get jacked at 80 years old, however the guy is. So it's just a total hypocrisy thing. If they would have been focused on the fat camps or, you know, getting kids to eat healthier, doing push-ups, the presidential fitness tests, love it. But too much of the MAHA movement is this old Democrat view of, I don't understand it, I don't like it, ban it.
I mean, and the thing is that there are a lot of conflicting views on glyphosate, and, you know, that people will give you all of these studies, but I mean, they're the kind of things you see in, you know, naturalnews.com or, you know, whatever. And how many times on Twitter have you seen people say, oh, the food in Europe is so much better, so much pure because they don't allow all of this stuff, which is like kind of BS, probably because, you know, it's more like, you know, they don't have air conditioning, so they sweat it off and they walk it off because, you know, they think they walk everywhere, right? But because they can. And so, but the thing is like the EU, like glyphosate usage is legal in the EU, just like it is in the US. So it's not that they don't use it. There are people who think they don't use it are just not educated, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, the fact of the matter is like, it is very hard to, you know, to determine what the cause of all of the cancers are that we that have seemingly risen, right? I mean, sometimes, you know, I think with a lot of these things, you do have to question, okay, are there more of them now, or are we just more aware? We have the science that, you know, lets us be aware of them earlier. So maybe there are more, but I don't know. It's very hard to nail down like what the source is, kind of like autism, right? I mean, there are things that they know for sure. But I mean, like you can test those things scientifically, and they have. I don't know that anybody has scientifically tested glyphosate and made a direct link to cancer. So, I mean, we are where we are, and the fact of the matter is that it has enabled farmers to produce much more in terms of crops. And so, like, people don't go hungry as much anymore.
So it's like my beef with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on this one. And I, you know, appreciate that he dropped out of the race and helped Trump win. I'm glad that he did that. I don't think that he should have made him Secretary of Health and Human Services. It should have been someone like Dr. J. Bhattacharya. But my problem with RFK Jr. is the way that he talks out of both sides of his mouth on issues is the same as the grassroots here in Missouri when they talk about these things. So here's what RFK Jr. says. He says he's not on anabolic steroids, right? He says, but he takes male hormone testosterone. It's a different word for the same thing. Right. It's the
DRT is kind of the big thing, right?
Yeah. It's the same thing. They're just calling it something different. Right. And it's kind of like this. I have to have these conversations with people all the time when we talk about things like dosage, and we talk about, you know, the radioactive shrimp, the Walmart radioactive shrimp story is actually another perfect example of this, Camellia. Have you heard about the radioactive shrimp at Walmart?
I've been seeing it, but I did not see the detail. Like, why are the shrimp radioactive?
Well, here's the thing. Probably all the shrimp are radioactive. Like, if you do, you would be surprised at how much radioactivity there is on a regular, all over the place. There's radioactive materials that are being used in order to increase technology. So, but the question is does the amount of cancer that it increases? Let me ask you just a simple question here. Do you think that if we said tomorrow we could reduce the risk of people getting cancer by a percentage of 1%, but everybody's got to get rid of all their cell phones, nobody can have cell phones, do you think people would take that trade-off?
No.
Why not?
Oh, I mean, because like you're thinking,
you're going to get cancer.
Well, I know everybody thinks I'm not going to be in that 1%. I can beat the odds, right? And so they think it's worth the gamble, right? It's worth the trade-off. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like, you know, driving cars is one of the most dangerous things you can do, but we take that gamble every day. And so there are all kinds of things that we do that with in life. And, you know, the thing is like, this is something that on the right, it is weird because like the crunchy right has sort of displaced the crunchy left. There's just been this like weird morphing right to the right. And I'm not, you know, I don't completely object to that. I do think that we need to be aware. And I do think that, you know, not eating ultra processed foods with all of these things added to it. Like, I do think that that's smart, right? And that's better for you. However, you know, in some of these advancements, and when we talk about technology in the ag industry, like we don't talk about science and technology in the ag industry nearly as much as we talk about it in every other facet of life, right? But huge scientific, technological advances in agriculture have made it possible for, you know, people not to be starving around the world and for us to be able to export food. Like people are like, oh, like the U.S. needs to be, you know, self-sufficient, everything, and that's fine. We can't grow everything here, but you know what? We can grow a lot of things, and we do a lot of exporting as well.
Camellia, you've gone from a grassroots Mennonite living out in the woods near Joplin to a full-blown lobbyist in Jefferson City. You have probably experienced a tidal change in your views and how you see things, because now I think you kind of, from your perch, from your ivory tower, they might say, you have a bit of a bird's eye view of the public, the masses, the grassroots of which you and I, you know, have our feet, is where we come from. We weren't born with silver spoons in our mouths. Everything we're self-made, right? So we come from the grassroots. Does it shock you now even so much when you look at the masses, because you see how angry they are on this issue here in Missouri, how fearful the grassroots are? Because when I went to the Missouri Regional Conference and things like that, it was all about the chemtrails, man. And
I know.
And it was like, it is so popular. It is so common but it's, you know what it is that people are they're in a constant state of fear. Have you noticed? Talk to us a little bit about that, because I see the Missouri
100%.
grassroots who I probably agree with politically almost everything. They are so fearful on things like this. It's really sad to watch.
Right. And this applies to so many issues. I mean, you know, we all talked about during COVID, you know, how that fear was driving, you know, all of these lockdowns and like, don't breathe on me, don't touch me, like 6 feet, blah, 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 your social distancing. And, but that is not exclusive to the left. That is very much across the spectrum, and you see it in different ways on the right. I mean, you see it in the resistance to changing the education system because it's the fear of what we don't know. Like, it's the fear of, you know, what your government might be doing to you, which I think to a certain extent is a healthy fear, but, you know, it's the human tendency to go way too far on things and to throw logic and reason out the window. And so, yes, you know, I just the other day had this conversation about chemtrails with someone, because yes, I see it all the time posted here in Missouri about, oh, look at the skies today. There's all these, you know, lines or whatever. And like, you know, just once I'd like for somebody to look up, like, you have to register your flight path. Can we somebody take a picture of the planes? Like, how does nobody ever have any evidence of the aircraft that are supposedly doing these things? And so there's never really fully enough evidence. And we're really slow on the right too to embrace the technological advances. And so when you talk about AI and robotics and all of those things, because you get mired down in this Luddite fear of, you know, the good side of what technology can do for you, you end up harming yourself. So when we talk about crops and we talk about glyphosate, so I have to bring up, our friend John Hombus, who's been a longtime supporter of the show, has a new venture that I think a lot of people are not aware of yet. And so on Saturday mornings in the area where he lives in, he has started a farm show. And so he does a radio show specifically about agriculture. And so it's pretty new, just a few episodes, and I'll link to some things later on Twitter about it.
We need to get him on the For Liberty Network or something. I don't know. We need to all work together.
So the thing is like one of the things a lot of it's like really wonky agriculture stuff, right? But there are some really interesting things there. And one of the things that I didn't even know was a thing was he talked about a company called Greenfield Robotics. And what they do is they use robots for weed control in row crops. And so like when you talk about, you know, glyphosate as an herbicide to keep, you know, weeds down, this is a company who's literally by the free market, responding to the free market and to demand from people for food that doesn't use these chemicals, and they're providing a way. So if you do not support the use of glyphosate, what you need to do is you need to find these innovators who are doing things like that, because I think it's fantastic, right? I mean, so who are using this technology to make the use of these kind of chemicals less necessary. Because people will talk about, regenerative farming, no-till farming. Like, that's great, but the farmers who are using no-till and regenerative farming are also still using glyphosate because they just are not adequate by themselves. Anyway, I know that's very
when you're a kid
but
in civics class, I remember learning in like middle school about politics and the system of our government, the way that it's set up. The Constitution was written in such a way, and the state governments even are formed in such a way, so as any one person can't take complete and total power, and there's the separation of powers, and there is a Republican Democratic form of government that also prevents the Constitution from being altered in a whim of passion. Well, what was the whim of passion? Was it the whim of the passions of the people who are in charge? No, it was actually literally specifically because our founding fathers were elites who knew that the public, who didn't have time to read about organic chemistry or deal with things like anabolic steroids or the difference between anabolic steroids and testosterone, so it's the same thing, or know that there's things like formaldehyde in breast milk, leave that to Benjamin Franklin and the bodies in his basement to be found out 100 years later. I guess my last thing here is the big question about populism and like the masses. Camellia, you came out of the grassroots. You've gone from, you are a rebel, a revolutionary, to now you are apart from the crowd and you're looking down. Is your perspective, are you feeling ivory towered? I mean,
little bit. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day because, I very much like the purest ideological, like I am very ideological, right? And that approach does resonate with me, but you know me, and like all along, because you and I have clashed about this, like, all along I've been like, okay, but what's the actual pragmatic solution? Like, what is this going to look like walked out in practice? And so much of what we do, even, as libertarians, where, no government control, no government interference, like every individual liberty and responsibility, all good things, all very important, right things. But there is a balance in everything, and you have to think about like what that looks at in practical application. So when we talk about things that I want to do, so I think, to answer your question, in my sort of evolution and the fear that you see in grassroots and kind of some of the things that they get hung up on, so much of that I think is just due to a lack of education, knowledge. It's not that they're not dumb; it's just that they haven't been around and learned all of the different factors and things that are involved in this.
They're prisoners in Plato's cave. They don't know. They don't know what they don't know. They've never seen the light of day. They've only seen the shadows on the wall. And you, Camellia, are doomed to, like Prometheus, be bound to a rock while the vultures eat at your guts, while you try to, just for bringing the truth, the fire of liberty to man. You will suffer for that, Camellia.
So the more you know, the harder it gets.
That's correct. The more you know, the more knowledge. Isn't that a Bible quote? The more knowledge, the more suffering. I'm pretty
not
sure
sure
it is. Somebody look it up.
Like, the harder the decisions get with the more you know about it all. So for every solution that I think that I have, like, there ends up being like 100 different questions about who that affects and how we put it into practice.
We'll try. Listen, we're trying not to pat ourselves on our backs too much for our intelligence. However, note that I did get the Bible quote correct. Ecclesiastes 1:18. For with much wisdom is much sorrow. As knowledge increases, grief increases. Camellia?
That's why they say the truth hurts. I don't know.
Well, they said love hurts. I think that was Bon Jovi. I'm not sure. Maybe I got the Bible right, but Bon Jovi wrong. Pretty sure. Camellia, thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Take care. No Cracker Barrel for Camellia. Welcome to Wake Up America show. Good morning, pineapples. Someone bought a box of Founding Flavors coffee. So now, if you want to see the Hulk Hogan's ghost at the end of the show, all we need to do is raise another $25 or whatever it is, 50 to 75 or 75 to 100. Yeah, another $25. And that will unlock Hulk Hogan's ghost. I know we're going to do it. We're definitely going to make it. It's the Wake Up America show. You sweet little pineapples. Enjoy your bonus content. We'll be right back with Kerry Slone to talk about a case of not that defensive gun use. A man who chased down two people who attempted to rob his vehicle, chased him down, shot him, killed one. Did he do a favor for society, or does he deserve the over half a century term that he got? We'll talk to
chip cookie into a tall glass of steel? The Trump administration's 50% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum were expanded this week to cover hundreds of imports that plainly are not steel or aluminum. Among the items targeted by the new tariffs, dairy products like milk and cream, as well as gasoline and other fuels, fire extinguishers, baby strollers, furniture, engines, and motorcycles. In short, anything that contains steel or aluminum, or that is, as with dairy products, transported or stored in steel or aluminum containers could now be subject to those massive import taxes. Auto parts, chemicals, plastics, furniture components, basically if it's shiny, metallic, or remotely related to steel or aluminum, it's probably on the list. Brian Baldwin, Vice President of Customs for Quainups Nagel International, a logistics firm, wrote in a post on LinkedIn. Officially, the Commerce Department says the 407 new product categories covered by the tariffs are derivative of steel and aluminum. Only the steel and aluminum components of the imports will actually be taxed. In reality, however, this is a wild expansion of how tariffs typically apply. Many of these new, harmonized tariff schedule HTS provisions would not normally be considered aluminum or steel derivative products, notes Michael Roll, a trade attorney for Derringer, an international logistics firm, at least not by any reasonable understanding of those words. But why should the Trump administration be constrained by the reasonable understanding of words? After all, this is the same administration that's claiming the authority to impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, a 1977 law that does not contain the word tariff within its text, and that has never been used for this purpose. For that matter, the tariffs on steel and aluminum have been imposed under the guise of a national security claim that suggests trade with longtime allies like Canada and the European Union is somehow a threat to the United States. If you're willing to buy all that, you'll probably be able to talk yourself into believing that milk from Canada or deodorant from France is also a threat to national security and might as well be considered steel or aluminum. Anyone who retains the ability to think logically about this stuff, however, should be annoyed at a minimum. But wait, it actually gets worse. When it announced the expanded list of products that would be covered by the steel and aluminum tariffs, the Commerce Department also created a new process for deciding whether even more products ought to be covered by those same tariffs. Beginning next month, there will be 3 annual windows, in January, May, and September, when companies can petition the Commerce Department for more tariffs on their competitors' goods. That's great news for lobbyists and trade lawyers who are already keeping plenty busy during the Trump administration. Registered tariff lobbyists have reported a 599% increase in revenue this year, according to one analysis. That's exactly what you'd expect to see in the current political dynamic. If tariffs can be raised or lowered according to the whims of one man, or those of his closest advisors and allies, then businesses that can afford to do so are going to spend handsome sums of money to influence those decisions. That's not just borderline corrupt and obviously gross. It's also taking resources out of the productive part of the economy and redirecting them toward the very swamp of political influence peddling that Trump once vowed to drain. And the result of this warped, anti-democratic process is going to be more batshit proclamations like milk is now steel from an administration that will use any excuse to raise taxes on American consumers of foreign-made goods. Congress must assert its powers to stop this insanity. This summer, Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. I just took a nice cold drink of iced Roundup, the glyphosate. It's delicious. Then I took a dozen or so vaccines, swirled it up, made a little cocktail this morning. No, I know you're freaking out. We have to ban all of the chemicals. Camellia Peterson did a really great job. Don't you guys love CJ? Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 a.m. You got to watch Camellia Peterson. She's a regular, but I'm always trying to bring in new names and new faces. My next guest is someone who has been on the show, but I don't know why she hasn't been on in such a long time. We need to have her back more often. Kerry Slone, she's the founder of We the Female. She's dedicated to educating and truly empowering women. Not the weird lefty feminist stuff, but, giving chicks guns. Right, Kerry? Good morning.
Good morning, and absolutely, that is absolutely my mission, is to arm the women with education, confidence, and self-defense. I like to joke that I'm the Oprah of guns. Everybody gets a gun.
Yeah, good for everybody gets a gun. You get a gun, you get a gun.
Everybody gets a gun.
Everybody gets a gun. I love it. Listen, I've taught my wife up to like a blue belt level, almost a brown belt level in karate. But at the end of the day, if I was going to choose her to learn self-defense from me or self-defense from you, I would choose you every time because you know gun fu.
Thank you. I do know gun fu, and it's interesting. They're not mutually exclusive, and I always, I know this isn't what we're talking about, but side note, learn at least at the very least, ladies, go take some hand-to-hand and learn how to defend against knives because I don't like knives. I don't like using them as self-defense tools. I can use one, but women aren't raped typically at gunpoint. So at the very least, go get some hand-to-hand knowledge in and learn that. I think they go great together. It's phenomenal for young people. Get your kids in it, but nothing levels the playing field like a 9mm, like 10 rounds of 9mm, 12 rounds of 9mm to the chest.
There we go. Exactly right. Not 10mm though.
Oh, good Lord.
I saw you fighting about that. I saw you fight about that online.
You saw the feed.
We're not going to get that into the nitty gritty. I want to talk about this story because when you learn about how to defend yourself from a violent altercation, the legal part of it is actually really critically important because you have to know what you're legally allowed to do. And there can be different laws on a county level, a state level, the federal level of what you can do, what is legally allowed in terms of self-defense. So this case that everyone was talking about online yesterday of this Orest Schur, he's a former Space Force member of the military, and he chased teenagers after his car alarm woke him up. He chased them down, fired 11 shots, killed a 14-year-old. The court called it vigilante violence. As somebody who teaches defensive gun use, where did he go wrong? Why is he going to spend more than 50 years in prison?
Well, fundamentally, there's a lot to this, and I've been doing some research on it and looking into the case that a lot of people are using as justification, which I'd like to get into later. But at the fundamental core of this, we have something that we call a use of force triangle, right? Essentially, and that means that a person has to be able to be justified to use deadly force. There are three things that have to 100% be in place, and that is opportunity, capability, and intent, right? And so, these kids, based on what I'm seeing in this case, they did not have the opportunity. They did not have the intent. I mean, so, the triangle wasn't closed. In fact, some would argue, based on the information, that there wasn't even a triangle to begin with. So, especially in a state like Colorado, where it is a stand your ground state by, it looks like precedents. I couldn't find any law necessarily that's actually in concrete on that. But even in a castle doctrine state, a lot of castle doctrine states, you still have to be able to prove that your life was in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death. And not only did this guy get in his car and chase these kids, then he got out of the car and chased them as well. I mean, I know this is going to be controversial, especially for the libertarian crowd, but this guy, the court made the right decision. The jury made the right decision in this case, based on the law. Based on the law.
But okay, based on the law. So, but over 50 years, like you can understand, over 50 years. I mean, here's the thing. The problem is that when principles and ideologies run into reality, sometimes things don't always work out the way that we have in our utopian fantasies that we like to cook up in our heads. Right? There's the practicality, there's the reality, there's the theory. what I think might be the reality, and I could be wrong, but these men were the one that died, probably not going to be a doctor, probably not going to be a healthy contributor to society, right? I'm not in favor of eugenics, but isn't it possible that sometimes taking certain people out of the gene pool, whether they do it themselves or whether it be a happy little accident, Bob Ross might call it, might actually improve society overall somewhat, even if it doesn't fit the letter of the law?
So yes and no, but who are we to be the ones to judge whether this kid would end up, maybe this was the incident that would have scared him straight, right? We don't know. And so the court and the jury in particular cannot make their decisions and their rulings based on coulda, woulda, shoulda, what ifs, right? They only can make those rulings and things on what the evidence and the situation presented to them. Do I think 50 years, personally, do I think 50 years is a little much? Yeah, I do. But taking the sentencing aside and just looking at it from the legal aspect, and knowing what the jury had to look at, and I'm looking at this as an instructor and what we're taught to teach, and the way that lawyers would look at these things. It would have been different had he caught him in the act of actually shot him while he was actually in the act of stealing the car. That would have changed the dynamics dramatically. But then again, especially in a state like
down. What if he had the car?
Not once, but twice. Not only did he chase the car,
what if he had two cars? What if you had two cars and somebody stole one of your car and you saw him and you gave chase and you shot him down while they were in your second car? That would be giving chase. That would be, are we supposed to just let people take our stuff in this society? I kind of like the idea that America's like the first 10 minutes is sort of like free game on people trying to steal your shit.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. Look, on a personal level, I agree with you. Yeah. I moved from Washington State to Georgia for a reason, where we actually have Castle Doctrine codified, in our state. So on a personal level, I 100% agree. And this is why I always ask the question when somebody presents a scenario to me. I'm in a lot of instructor groups and stuff, and they're like, "Here's the scenario." My first question is, "What state am I in?" What state am I in before I answer any question, because how I'm going to act is 100% going to be dependent upon what state that I'm in. Is it right? No. Is that the reality of the world? Unfortunately, it is. And what's interesting is, I know that you had sent me some information on this case, and one of the court cases that was being used to essentially say that this is crap and not okay was this Tennessee versus Garner case. But what I don't think people understood that with that case is that case was specifically directed at law enforcement, not civilians, by the way. So it ruled that deadly force with law enforcement in a case where a cop shot a kid in the head who was fleeing over a fence. So Sandra Day O'Connor was a dissenter on that case, by the way.
Oh,
interesting.
Very interesting.
Well, Reagan era, right?
This is a challenge here, and this is a uniquely American problem. Dealing with this, you don't typically see these kinds of cases in other countries because they aren't quite as heavily armed as us.
Correct.
Over 50 years seems ridiculous. Even if it is the letter of the law, it's okay to ask if the law itself is just. And I do think that a general wussification of Americans sometimes leads juries to make ridiculous decisions. And I even believe in things as going as far as jury nullification. Maybe this guy will get a pardon or maybe a time served if there is justice in the world, simply because whether it's the letter of the law or not, personally, I think that this is an excessive situation where the person who is defending his property, which I believe should be lawful, has been unjustly sentenced, maybe not charged, but sentenced. I'm speaking to Kerry Slone live this morning. She teaches women how to defend themselves with firearms. And we see this all the time. In the community, the slang is called DGU, as I'm sure you're familiar with, the defensive gun use. But there's something, Kerry, about thinking about a woman like yourself with flaming red hair, just take it, with fire shooting out of the end of her gun, take it on some potential rapist, and, and just like Annie Oakley. There's something uniquely American about that. And we hear it all the time. You shared with me a case you found out the other day.
Yeah. It's interesting. it's funny. The hair, well, you've got redheads. We don't need to talk about that. On a side note, I want to transition into that because that's a good thing. But it's interesting that they gave him 53 years, I think it was. He could have had a maximum of 80, which to me is even crazier. Again, for your listeners that obviously don't understand, let's get back to nuance, right? I personally think it's crap, okay, that this dude was sentenced to 53 years for this. However, as an instructor, I also have to understand what these laws look like. And because I travel the country teaching, I have to understand what these laws look like in every state. I can guarantee you that if that happened where I live in Southeast Georgia in the country, he probably wouldn't have gotten 50 years. He probably would have been, some maybe 5 years and some heavy community service or something. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it is a little excessive. And I have to make sure that as I'm traveling the country, like you're saying, and teaching these things, that people understand these laws and how they apply, and whether we like them or not, that if you want to stay out of trouble, there's basically two options.
I get it. Thanks, Mom. Okay.
Yeah,
you're looking out for us. We appreciate it.
Now, that being said, I personally would not be okay with that. So I think it was ridiculous. I don't think that the guy deserved to get 50 years.
Mongoose87 in the chat says, I agree with AP, but take it as a lesson, abide by the triangle. Okay, now, Kerry, I want to get you on another subject. I want to ask you, because I only have so much time with you, and this is great conversations. What are some of the biggest myths or bad advice that women hear when it comes to defending themselves with the firearm?
In terms of like the actual act of defending themselves, or the actual type of gun to use to defend themselves?
We could spend all day talking about guns, and I know it's a thing where it's like, just tell her to get a pink revolver in her purse or whatever. But in terms of myths that women hear when it comes to defending themselves, not necessarily the firearm itself, but some of the things that women are told, like maybe there's self-defense classes that are based on BS. What are some of the biggest myths?
So two of the biggest ones that come to mind immediately are if somebody's trying to break into your house and they're outside the house, just shoot them and drag them in the house. That's a big one. And I hear that. What's disturbing is I actually hear that, I wouldn't say in every class, but pretty close. Usually from older generation, Gen X or older, where they've been told that by some, they claim some cop, but I'm no fan of cops. Let me be clear. So I'm not a cop hater. But I don't completely trust them. I'm a domestic violence survivor. You show me a domestic violence survivor that blindly trusts cops, and I'll give you $50 because we don't exist.
Isn't it like 40% of cops are
60? More like 60.
Is it more like 60? Yeah. They love to beat their wives.
Yeah, and that's, excuse me, for legal purposes, that's estimated.
Estimated, allegedly.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing, right? They're going to know that you drugged right? They're going to know that you drug a body back in the house. The other big one that I hear a lot is just carry a gun in your purse and shoot through the purse. Yeah. Because you're responsible for every round that leaves your... You're responsible for every... I don't have my glasses. Is that Thomas Jefferson?
No,
Who is
it's
that?
George Washington. I'm bouncing shots off George Washington's head.
I don't have my glasses on, so I couldn't see. I knew it was a founding father by the wig. But
I got the little musket man from the American Revolution. I'm bouncing shots at George Washington's head. Sorry, I'm being ridiculous.
That's okay, but you just made me snort laugh.
Yeah, go.
But you're responsible for every round that leaves your gun. And the chances of a round going astray while you're trying to shoot through your purse is very high. And that's in addition to the other safety issues that come along with that, with carrying your purse. Personally, I don't agree with carrying in a bag that can be taken from you and now the bad guy's got your gun. That's a whole other issue. So that's another big one that I hear. And then a lot of times it's just usually stuff where women, and not just women, but men too, believe that they're justified to use deadly force, because there's a difference between use of force and deadly force. And a lot of people don't know that. And they also don't understand that, again, circling back to the original point, depending on your state, that justification is going to be different. And what I'm going to do in Washington State is very different than what I'm going to do here in Georgia. So I would say that those are probably the three most common things, the two specifically, and then just a general overall ignorance of what the laws are. And what's frightening about that is that there are a lot of people that have even gone through concealed carry classes that are required by the states that still don't know the laws because they're not being taught properly, and that can be a problem. At the end of the day, whether we think it's legal or not legal, moral, immoral, at the end of the day, you're going to need to be able to prove that your life was in danger. And if you can, now the advantage of being a lady is you're
just a girl.
That's right. And if you're older, right? I teach a lot of elders. We call them Granny Oakleys, by the way. We call them Granny Oakleys, and they get into it, man. It's pretty great to watch them. But and they're not shooting revolvers and 22s. We have them shooting 9mm and full size 9mm or 2011s, and they're like, yeah, let's go. They love it. But you still have to be able to prove that your life was in danger. So back to this case, the guy said that he heard gunshots, but there was no evidence anywhere that these kids had a gun. So was he pulling that? Was he legitimately right? Because when your adrenaline gets up and you there's a lot of things that go out the window, biologically, right? And your brain is what it does to process things. Did he legitimately hear gunshots in his head to justify being, maybe? Did he make it up to try to cover his ass? Maybe, we'll never know. We'll never know that. But, again, 50 years.
Bullshit. All right. So,
I can say that?
Yeah, you can say. Thankfully we're not on the radio.
Sign language.
We can podcasting here. It's great. Last question for you. In terms of that mindset, I'm just a girl, right? If you were talking to a jury and you were trying to help them understand the mindset of a woman in fear for her life, what would you want them to know? How would you explain something like that? Psychologically, to help them to relate to a woman who is actually engaged in actual defensive gun use, maybe not a situation like this or a Sure character, but she's in trouble. She defended herself with her life. How would you talk to a jury? How would you explain it?
As a lawyer or as a...
However you feel. However you feel.
I would, me personally, I would kind of go into the fact that the laws that are set up to protect women, actually hurt us and hurt our ability to defend ourselves. And so we constantly live in a culture and a society where women are disproportionately targeted for violence by both people that we know and people that we don't. Men are rarely told not to, dress certain ways when they go in public or only go to the grocery store during the day or, these types of things. So we already live in a society that has the safety stacked against women, and we're already put into a culture where we're like this. So we live in a constant state of fear, unfortunately, especially if we're unarmed. Those of us that are armed don't necessarily, because we know we're able to defend ourselves. But at the fundamental core of it, we don't need to look at more gun control laws that are obviously not working. By the way, there's never been a successful gun control law in the history of the United States, and arguably probably the world, I would say, that has actually ended violence with guns. They don't exist. But every single law that has been written has actually put people at risk from being able to defend themselves. And women are disproportionately affected by that. And usually what it comes down to a lot of times with that is talking about our children and being able to, especially with women, you want to get women on board, especially if they're on a jury, bring up their children. And it will hit them differently, because hell hath no fury like a mama scorned.
Yeah, amen. Carrie, you're wonderful. And I love what you do.
Thank you.
You're definitely somebody that I would want my daughter to look up to. And thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking up for people. You're saving lives with what you're doing. It's kind of, to me, it's like a firefighter position, except your firefighting is a little kind of a different firefighting you're teaching. Kerry, you rock. Is there anything else that you think that we missed on this subject, or perhaps there's something you like a plug? You want to plug a book, a course, anything? Now's the chance. I'll give you the floor.
There's a book out there. If y'all are interested, find it's interesting. If you're so into it, read both of them, both versions of it. It's called The Culture of, not The Culture of Fear. It's called The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. And it essentially talks about violence and how your instincts can keep you out of trouble. And how I teach this a lot. We as a society teach people, especially women, to trust their instincts, but then we turn around and dismiss it with, oh, you're overreacting. Oh, you're being paranoid. No, that's a key right there. And so back to the core of this case, right? This guy obviously felt that his life, he felt fear. His instinct told him that he needed to defend himself and his child. And so, until the legislatures start looking at self-defense differently, unfortunately, we're going to have to play by their rules, whether we like it or not. And I don't like it.
Kerry, where can people find out more? Where can people find out more about your work online?
Well, you can go to wethefemale.net. That is my website. You can also find me on all the socials at We the Female or We the Female Official, depending on the page. I don't have one for stilettos and shotguns. On Twitter, X. You can find me at The Real SNS. That's a little spicier. Not necessarily all just, it's what I do, but a lot of other political commentary
Kerry,
as well.
do you have your own podcast?
I don't. And I've been asked to do one. I don't know. Maybe we should talk about putting it on the.
Maybe we should talk a little bit about the For Liberty Network. What we might be able to do for you.
Yeah, I've got a few ideas about what I'd like to do, particularly highlighting women that have been victims and turned to guns for survival when the system has failed them. Because I wasn't just a victim of abuse; I was a victim of a broken justice system too. So I'm no fan of the justice system. Let me be clear.
Kerry, you're hot, you're smart, you're a badass, you're a redhead. I think it all goes together. We'll have a conversation soon. Thank you so much for your time today, for being so generous with it, and keeping on.
Thank you very much for having me on, and say hi to Steffi and that baby for me. Take care.
For sure. Take care. Kerry Slone, ladies and gentlemen. So much exciting stuff going on over here at the Wake Up America show, including seances. You guys, we just unlocked the bonus content. We blew it out of the water today. We raised like $150 on the Wake Up America show. That's why the For Liberty Network is growing, because you guys, you keep slipping me cash, because it's like The Godfather. You come to me on the day of my show. You do not even call me Godfather. What have I done? Anything, Godfather. You anything. Buonasera. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Guys, this is amazing. We're going to have to go into overtime today because I have to conduct a seance. It may be 8:52 a.m. We're supposed to end at 9 a.m., but there's no show after me. So guess what? Show must go on. Don't leave. I was not setting that ish up, Mighty Megatron. I saw your comment, and I knew that I had the link to that audio, so I pressed the button. That's how damn good I am. Ugh. No. I have got for you the ghost of Hulk Hogan. If you thought today's headlines and all this stuff we've been talking about today was wild, you have not heard anything yet, because this next story is not a headline. It's a full-on steel cage conspiracy theory, and it comes courtesy of Brooke Hogan, daughter of the late wrestling legend Hulk Hogan, passed away last month at the age of 71. Now, Hulk's official cause of death was considered to be cardiac arrest, but apparently that's not what happened. According to his daughter. That's what she's alleging, insinuating, and I'm alleging that she's insinuating. No autopsy, cremated quick, case closed, right? But Brooke Hogan, she's not buying it, right? So she's not buying this whole theory that he died of a heart attack. She's out here posting on Instagram that first responders and even nurses have contacted her directly, saying she needs to get the body cam footage, the 911 tapes, the truth. She's questioning the daughter's credentials. This is all true. She's questioning the doctor's credentials. She's questioning the death certificate, whether he's already been cremated or not, and why it's all being kept under lockdown. She's even promoting a story from Bubba the Love Sponge, the same guy who once filmed Hulk in that tape. You know what I'm talking about here? The one that's suggesting that someone might have injected something into Hulk's dialysis port while he slept. And here, this is a direct quote from Brooke. This is true. Look it up. She says, "It's all up to my dad's wife. My hands are tied." Well, guess what? This morning, they're no longer tied. Because right now, thanks to your generous Rumble rants and fine American consumerism, we're going full paranormal, okay? Full political and full on WWF fever dream. Let's talk to the man himself. Don't go away from beyond.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. 1 minute, I'm getting ready for dialysis, saying my prayers, eating my vitamins. Next thing you know, boom, cardiac arrest, lights out. No warning, no 10 count, just natural causes, Jack. And now I'm floating below the earth in a red, white, and blue Speedo, watching my daughter post stories about body cam footage and mysterious injections in my dialysis port, dude. And let me tell you something. She's onto something. They said it was a heart attack, but I was jacked, brother. I had a chest you could cook flapjacks on. I had biceps that could bench press communism. I didn't die. I got terminated. Cremated faster than a Vince McMahon NDA, Jack. And who ordered the fast track? My wife. That's right. The same woman who took me for half and left me with a tan line in the shape of a lawyer's business card, brother. And now the media is saying, oh, there's no foul play. No foul play? Then why'd they pump me full of Narcan? The only thing I ever overdosed on was ego, tanning oil, and racial slurs on leaked sex tapes, brother. I was murdered, dude. And I got a few theories. Theory 1. Bubba the Love Sponge was trying to recoup his podcast ratings. Theory 5. Andre the Giant never forgave me for body slamming him and had a ghost bounty placed on me via the Spectral Wrestling Federation. Now I'm trapped in wrestler purgatory with Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man Randy Savage. Last week we had a Ghost Royal Rumble and Rowdy Rodder Piper hit me with a folding chair made of pure regret. But that ain't the worst of it, brother. I've got a court-mandated appointment with Martin Luther King Jr. in hell. I said the N-word once on camera, and now I gotta spend 1,000 years listening to his speeches on loop while I oil up Malcolm X's ghost for Arm Day. No. I'm on a treadmill that only plays I Have a Dream, and it never ends, brother. But before I go, I got one final message. If you're watching this, demand the body cam footage, question the physician, and never trust anyone named after a household item and a sexual act. This has been the ghost of Hulk Hogan. I gotta run now. I'm late for mandatory sensitivity training with Genghis Khan and the ghost of Don Imus. And remember, what you gonna do when woke justice runs wild on you, brother? Oh
shit. Oh. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. No, The Wizard of Oz is on next week. I'm crazy. All right. The Wake Up America show is an awesome show today, guys. Did you have fun? Did you click the like button at least? If you really love me, you'll visit the Grift Shop on your way out. Exit through the Grift Shop. This is the Wake Up America show. Pineapples. I am AP for Liberty. Well, I see you guys on the Discord channel. I get lonely when we're not live. You know, I'm like, where is everybody? Where's Drew Van Runkle? Where's Luke Sacker? Barney Styles? Where Camellia? M. Mosbor 23. Joan Osborne, Drew Van Runkle, had to fire up the app to send in a rant. That was epic. Thank you. Thank you. I'll accept your flowers and your donations and your purchases at the Grift Shop, thegriftshop.com. We're working so hard to give you everything that you possibly want. How about if Camellia won't have her own show, how about Kerry Slone? Come on, Camellia. Let the intra-sex competition flow through you. Have your own podcast on the For Liberty. You get a podcast. You get a podcast. You get a podcast. That's she's Kerry Slone says that's for the guns. I'm with the podcasts. Handing them out. Join us live or on the Discord. That's where I'm going to be hanging out when we're not live. When we are live, you're hanging out with us on Rumble. When we're not live, we're on Discord. Friday night, the Freedom Arcade. Tomorrow morning, Freedom Family Friday. Just redheads on redheads on redheads. It's redheads all the way down. It's the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys.
Nothing quite like dipping a chocolate chip cookie into a tall glass of steel? The Trump administration's 50% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum were expanded this week to cover hundreds of imports that plainly are not steel or aluminum. Among the items targeted by the new tariffs, dairy products like milk and cream, as well as gasoline and other fuels, fire extinguishers, baby strollers, furniture, engines, and motorcycles. In short, anything that contains steel or aluminum, or that is, as with dairy products, transported or stored in steel or aluminum containers could now be subject to those massive import taxes. Auto parts, chemicals, plastics, furniture components, basically if it's shiny, metallic, or remotely related to steel or aluminum, it's probably on the list. Brian Baldwin, Vice President of Customs for Quainups Nagel International, a logistics firm, wrote in a post on LinkedIn. Officially, the Commerce Department says the 407 new product categories covered by the tariffs are derivative of steel and aluminum. Only the steel and aluminum components of the imports will actually be taxed. In reality, however, this is a wild expansion of how tariffs typically apply. Many of these new, Harmonized Tariff Schedule HTS provisions would not normally be considered aluminum or steel derivative products, notes Michael Roll, a trade attorney for Derringer, an international logistics firm, at least not by any reasonable understanding of those words. But why should the Trump administration be constrained by the reasonable understanding of words? After all, this is the same administration that's claiming the authority to impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, a 1977 law that does not contain the word tariff within its text, and that has never been used for this purpose. For that matter, the tariffs on steel and aluminum have been imposed under the guise of a national security claim that suggests trade with longtime allies like Canada and the European Union is somehow a threat to the United States. If you're willing to buy all that, you'll probably be able to talk yourself into believing that milk from Canada or deodorant from France is also a threat to national security and might as well be considered steel or aluminum. Anyone who retains the ability to think logically about this stuff, however, should be annoyed at a minimum. But wait, it actually gets worse. When it announced the expanded list of products that would be covered by the steel and aluminum tariffs, the Commerce Department also created a new process for deciding whether even more products ought to be covered by those same tariffs. Beginning next month, there will be 3 annual windows, in January, May, and September, when companies can petition the Commerce Department for more tariffs on their competitors' goods. That's great news for lobbyists and trade lawyers who are already keeping plenty busy during the Trump administration. Registered tariff lobbyists have reported a 599% increase in revenue this year, according to one analysis. That's exactly what you'd expect to see in the current political dynamic. If tariffs can be raised or lowered according to the whims of one man, or those of his closest advisors and allies, then businesses that can afford to do so are going to spend handsome sums of money to influence those decisions. That's not just borderline corrupt and obviously gross. It's also taking resources out of the productive part of the economy and redirecting them toward the very swamp of political influence peddling that Trump once vowed to drain. And the result of this warped, anti-democratic process is going to be more batshit proclamations like milk is now steel from an administration that will use any excuse to raise taxes on American consumers of foreign-made goods. Congress must assert its powers to stop this insanity.